Welcome back to Soul Spirit Storiesy, the place where we share the most heart-touching and unforgettable true stories that move the soul. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a story that can change the way you see life. Now, let's begin today's journey. The night was unusually quiet, except for the soft whistling wind passing through the open cracks of a small wooden house at the edge of the city. Inside lived a man named Daniel and his little daughter Lily. Daniel was not like most men his age. He had lived through pain, through abandonment, and through the kind of struggles that could break anyone's spirit. Yet the one thing that gave him the strength to face each day was Lily, his daughter, his world, his heartbeat. Daniel had been raising Lily alone ever since his wife passed away, when Lily was barely 3. Life was cruel, but his love for his daughter was greater than any hardship. He worked multiple jobs just to put food on the table. He fixed old instruments at a repair shop during the day, and at night he played his violin in the town square, hoping strangers would drop coins in his open case. Every note he played was not just music, it was survival, it was love, it was hope. But hidden behind Lily's sweet laughter and playful innocence was a truth too heavy for a little girl to carry. Lily had a heart condition, one that could take her away if not treated soon. Daniel knew about it, and the doctors had warned him that surgery was her only chance. But surgery required money, more than Daniel could even dream of making. Every night, Daniel stood under the dim streetlight with his violin. He played with his eyes closed, letting the music flow like a prayer. Each note was a plea for help, each melody a message to the universe. Please, let my daughter live. Passers-by often stopped, some for a few seconds, some for a song or two, and left small coins that barely made a difference. But Daniel never gave up. He believed that as long as he kept playing, somehow something would change. One evening, Lily sat on a nearby bench, bundled in a little scarf. She was fragile, her face pale, but her eyes shone with admiration as she watched her father play. "Daddy," she whispered when he paused, "when I grow up, I want to play the violin just like you." Daniel knelt beside her, kissed her forehead, and with tears in his eyes said, "You'll play even better, my love. You'll fill the world with music brighter than mine." But deep down, he wondered, would she live long enough to learn? Days turned into weeks, and the situation grew worse. Lily's health began to decline rapidly. She grew weaker, struggling to catch her breath, and often fell asleep in her father's arms while he played soft lullabies on his violin. One night, after Lily collapsed and had to be rushed to the hospital, the doctors gave Daniel the hardest news. "She needs surgery immediately," the doctor said firmly. "Without it, she may not have much time." Daniel's heart shattered. He had saved every penny, every coin, but it was not enough. He begged, he pleaded, but money was money, and the hospital could not operate without the cost being covered. That night, Daniel sat by Lily's hospital bed, holding her tiny hand, watching her sleep. He whispered to her, "I promise, baby girl, I'll find a way. I don't care if I have to play my violin until my fingers bleed. I will not let you go." The next morning, Daniel made a decision. He would play outside the hospital no matter what. Maybe the families, the patients, the visitors, they would hear his music and help. He carried his violin to the steps of the hospital and began to play. His bow glided across the strings, producing melodies so filled with pain and love that people couldn't ignore them. Nurses paused on their way to work. Doctors slowed their steps. Visitors stopped to listen. The music wasn't just sound. It was a father's cry, a desperate soul calling out to the world. His case filled with coins, then bills, and slowly people began to whisper, "Who is that man? Why does his music sound so heartbreaking? Does he need help?" Soon a small crowd gathered. Unknown to Daniel, someone recorded him and uploaded the video online. Within hours, it began spreading across social media. Millions watched as a weary single father played his violin with tears running down his face, while a frail little girl watched from a hospital window above. The caption read, A father plays for his daughter's life. Messages of love and donations began pouring in from all over the world. Strangers who had never met Daniel or Lily sent money, prayers, and support. The video reached charities, musicians, and even celebrities. Daniel had no idea this was happening. He just kept playing, unaware that the sound of his violin was echoing far beyond those hospital walls. Days later, the hospital staff rushed to him with the news. "Mr. Daniel, the surgery has been funded. Your daughter can have her operation." Daniel froze, his violin bow trembling in his hands. He fell to his knees, overcome with emotion. He had no words, only tears. The surgery was scheduled, and Daniel stayed by Lily's side every moment until the doctors took her into the operating room. His hands shook as he placed his violin under his chin and whispered, "This is for you, my love." He played outside the operating room doors as the surgeons worked inside. Every note carried his fear, his hope, his love. Nurses passing by stopped, some crying silently, touched by the sight of a father pouring his soul into music for his child. Hours later, the doors opened, and the doctor approached him with a smile. She made it. The surgery was successful. Daniel collapsed into the nearest chair, his face buried in his hands, sobbing with relief. When he was finally allowed to see Lily, she was weak but smiling. She whispered, "Daddy, I heard your music even when I was asleep. It kept me safe." Daniel kissed her hand and promised, "You'll never be alone, Lily. As long as I live, you'll always have my music." Weeks later, Lily was discharged from the hospital, her cheeks finally glowing with health. The video of Daniel's violin had continued to spread worldwide, and offers came for him to perform at events, concerts, and even collaborate with other musicians. But Daniel never forgot the reason he played. For him, it wasn't fame or recognition. It was love. Pure, unconditional love for his daughter. Years later, Lily grew strong and healthy, and just as she had promised, she learned to play the violin. At their small home, two violins now sang together, one carrying the sound of a father's sacrifice and the other carrying the melody of a daughter's gratitude. Together, they created music that was not just beautiful, but eternal. And so the story of a single father who played the violin for his daughter's life became a reminder to the world. Love can turn the impossible into reality. Sometimes the purest prayers are not spoken but played, not shouted but whispered through the strings of a violin. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who needs hope today. And remember, no matter how dark life may seem, love always finds a way to shine. Thank you for watching Soul Spirit Stories, where every story is a journey of the human spirit. Until next time, take care, stay strong, and never stop believing in the power of love.